The road that leads from China to Myanmar's northern Kachin state is as breathtaking as it's lawless. Here, in the Himalayan foothills that border China, India and Myanmar, a multi-billion-dollar economy in logging, mining and drug trafficking is thriving. Decades of fighting between ethnic militias in the Myanmar state have given criminal syndicates a safe haven from where to produce and ship narcotics. Drug production in what is best known as the Golden Triangle is rising, according to the UN's drug watchdog. The new drug of choice, methamphetamine. The cheap synthetic drug, often called yaba and sold in pill or powder, has become ubiquitous in Asia. Made in jungle labs far from the reach of the law, yaba is now creating a new generation of addicts. Hpau Dogamba is a senior Kachin official in charge of drug eradication. He says the KIA is struggling to stem the flow of narcotics through its territory.
Miwa asuya kunama kajawa kani patsan mesinta kajanan jasan jasango mu mitrong atie tatut sunesha nesha tatut khang jipro kalora ba mungching mung sha yong makramung ne kani patsan nem kampung nego sanglom yangsha kani ne sai maye nguna mulu ba magami dego ya ukhanga min asuya pheba international asuya go ufung sku go na. We meet
in a prison camp for drug addicts a few hundred meters from the Chinese border. Conditions are Spartan at best. And the militia's zero tolerance to drugs is on show for the visiting media. This man was caught using yaba and sentenced to 6 months of labour. Under the watchful eye of his jailers, he tells us how easy it was to buy drugs across the border in China. The porous border, here marked by a shallow stream, is a haven for smugglers. But trading with China is essential to the survival of the Kachin independence movement. Langtoi Pi Sa, an ex-fighter now in charge of several refugee camps, says his people have no alternative than to do business with China. Here he points out on a map Chinese economic interests in Kachin. Exporting raw resources to China helps feed and house the 70,000 Kachin people living in refugee camps. At this camp in Laiza, the first ever consignment of food from the Chinese Red Cross is being handed out. While these boxes may help feed a family for a week, resentment towards Beijing is growing.
They do have a complicated relationship with China. They want to rely on China. They presented themselves as the leverage against the Myanmar central government to China many times. They try to convince China that let us preserve the status quo because this status quo is in your favor. It's to your advantage, and we can be your buffer zone. We historically has had a good relationship with China.
As the Kachin militia sits down with the Myanmar government to discuss the first ever nationwide ceasefire, bringing law and order to Kachin will be a top priority. The new democratic government in Myanmar is keen to project its authority over its unruly ethnic regions. Tackling a billion-dollar illicit economy in Kachin will likely come up against many vested interests who have benefited from the instability on the ground. Ben Marino, Financial Times, Laiza.